Good morning, good morning. My name is Matt Semrad. I'm the Northeast Regional Quality Control Manager. I work underneath Dan Lucas and Ron Rogie in the Northeast region. Sounds like there have been some corporate shifts within management, so that's going to change a little bit. My current responsibility is the PPP project, um, the bundled bridges in Pennsylvania. But typically you find me managing and assisting and implementing the quality control program anywhere between Cleveland and Maine. I hardly have any time on this webcast. I only get about 15 minutes. So let me go ahead and just start us off with a little bit of a question. How do you measure quality? About a month ago, Dan Walsh had asked a question to his cabinet about how they manage quality. He got a handful of responses. In a lot of respects, I feel like he may have been asking, how should the company measure quality? But I want you to understand something before I get too carried away. Measuring quality is very, very challenging. There are a handful of individuals such as Joseph Duran, Edward Deming, or Philip Crosby who spent their entire years trying to develop the measurement of quality. Each one of these guys did some pretty amazing things. Joseph Duran and Edward Deming on the left and in the middle brought quality to Japan after World War II. Philip Crosby tried to bring quality back from Japan in the late 80s. Joseph Duran is known as the godfather of quality, and Philip Crosby on the right is the president of the, or former president of the American Society for Quality. These guys were dedicated to it, and they were really, really challenged by this type of a question. So now I want to ask you again, how do you measure quality? And think about it for a minute. Because what I believe is that this presentation today is going to change everything you believe about quality, at least in the construction sector. Sorry, it's been a long morning already. So in order to measure quality, we're going to take a look at the cost of quality. There are 4 costs associated with quality. As you can see here, I'm going to highlight the first 2. These are the first 2 poor, or the cost of poor quality. In the upper left is the cost of internal failure, and it's what you've heard a lot about here at Walsh in the recent years. And that's really the cost of rework, or the delays associated with rework. It is a direct cost, it is a measurable cost, and it varies from project to project. The next cost is of poor quality is in the lower left-hand corner. That's the cost of external failure. That's typically the cost of perception, or which in a lot of respects is actually more costly than internal failure. But it's not very quantifiable. It's very hard for me to determine, what an owner thinks about me and how much does that cost. The next 2 costs are the cost of good quality. And the first one is noted in the upper right-hand corner is the cost of prevention. The cost of prevention is the cost of things like education or work planning. It is not the cost of appraisal, which is in the lower right-hand corner. The cost of appraisal is the cost of things like inspection and testing. Any sort of a concrete test, any sort of a weld inspection, those go into the cost of appraisal. Now, the cost of prevention is a fluctuating cost. It's a variable. I can choose to do more work planning or less work planning, and that's going to impact that cost. Or I can choose to do more education or less education. It's going to impact the cost of prevention. However, the cost of appraisal in the lower right-hand corner is actually a constant. We estimate doing 1 round of testing per contract for each scope, or for whatever that needs to be. And so the cost of appraisal is a constant. The cost of prevention is a fluctuating cost, or a variable. You guys get it, right? You see exactly what I'm trying to tell you, I hope. No? Okay. So what I'm really trying to tell you is that the cost of prevention plus the cost of internal failure is going to equal the cost of quality. Okay, so I want you to realize something here that's really, really important. That the cost of prevention, again, is the cost of education and training. If you were to hold cost of quality as a constant and increase the value of prevention, what happens to your internal failure cost? It automatically goes down. This is basic arithmetic. Let's take a little bit of a look at this from a little bit different perspective. What I'm really trying to say here is that, well, I'm going to rewind it. This is an economic conformance model. It's similar to a supply and demand curve and shows the inverse relationship between that good and poor quality. I mean, if you remember the slide previous, as one goes up, the other one comes down. In the orange, you're going to see the cost of failure. the blue is the cost of prevention, and the gray is the total cost of quality, or the combined value of the two. What I want you to see is that as you increase your effort of prevention, you will see a reduction in the cost of failure, which makes total sense. The key operative here, again, is prevent. Inspecting is not preventing. It is a constant in the original equation. So, if my project spends all of its effort in quality through inspections and places zero emphasis on prevention, then we're going to see the highest volume of rework and the highest cost of total quality. Conversely, if my project goes and spends all of its money on quality prevention, we will see almost zero rework. But again, we will see costs for quality that are very, very lofty. Ultimately, and this is the first time you will potentially hear this from a person in the realm of QC, in order for us to be competitive in our current market, we need to find this point of optimal quality, a balance point between prevention and failure. Inherent to this statement are a couple of key thoughts. The only way that we're going to find optimal quality and the only room for change is through our level of preventative effort and through obviously effective incident monitoring. Secondly, in order to do this, we're going to need to learn how to embrace a culture that allows a currently unknown level of failure. Does that make sense? And you guys all thought I always demanded perfection. Anyways, moving forward. So what we did in the Northeast region was this. We assigned a QC representative on every site whose primary role includes the daily monitoring of TQAs while providing near real-time feedback to the field. So we're constantly having this flow of information between the field and the office with the TQAs. He monitors and facilitates work planning. We actually use a lot of work plan schedules so that we can stay ahead of the curve and stay ahead of the actual schedule. He delivers toolbox talks to the field on a weekly basis, and he monitors for rework while obviously looking for change opportunities and rework trends. Now this isn't all the QC champs do or managers do, and a large part of my job was to help them reprioritize quality prevention, these actions, and monitoring in lieu of just the inspection and key responsibilities. See, for us in the QC world, this is a big change as well. Went through a couple too many slides too quickly. Let me see if I can get back and stay on schedule. I only have 15 minutes on this recorder. So every month I get together with these guys and I basically pool them on these different responsibilities. And this is what we come up with right here. It's a lot of statistical information. And you might be really interested in pausing right here and taking a look, but I don't have time to stick around. If you do this for a long time, you end up coming up with some statistics. In 2013, we ended up at about $1.44 in rework per man-hour a year, $23,000 approximately per incident, and about 23,000 man-hours per incident, with a total volume of rework of about 4,000,004. We have been doing this for a while, and we had done this through 2014, and as you can see, we got worse in 2014, but I want you to realize something. We may show more, $3.62 per man-hour, but we've reduced the dollars per incident, so our severity is reduced. We've increased the frequency at which we were reporting all the way down to $5,000 per incident for a total volume of rework of what is substantially less than 2013 at about 4,100,000. Before you get too carried away, I need you to realize something. This money has been, to some degree, extracted from our estimated productions, which have historically included rework. So a lot of this is already in our estimated cost, but realize that this is still a lost opportunity for profit. You know, a couple days ago when I left the presentation, I heard an individual say, you know, I really had not entirely sold on this type of rework reporting, and a lot of the reason why he said that was because he didn't want there to be a scapegoat for individuals to start moving money out of cost codes and trying to shelter rework money in a separate cost code that's not looked at and not having the opportunity to look at productions as they actually are. Well, I want you to realize something. What you do with the money is up to you. You're a manager. If you want to choose a different code or not, that's all on your shoulders in a lot of respect. I think corporately we've decided that we're supposed to do that for anything over $2,000. So I don't know that we get entirely too much of a an option there, but consider that there is still an option there for you, and that you don't necessarily need to do that. What I'm really looking at here wasn't extracted entirely from production all the time. The first year we didn't put it into different cost codes. So this is all just tracked independently on independent spreadsheets and tracking forms. Moving forward, so we did all this and we started looking for some trends. And one of the first things that we really wanted to measure was measuring participation. If project management feels that TQAs are important, then they reflect as important all the way down to foreman in the field. And so we measured TQAs as a measure of participation for both a foreman and the culture of a project. Starting in about July of 2013, we were at about 40% rework reporting. Right after that, we went to monthly tracking of TQAs, and as you can see, we saw an intermediate increase there to somewhere around about 65%, 70%. After a while of planing out at 65, 70%, we decided, obviously this is not getting measured enough. So, and obviously what gets measured gets managed. So we decided to start reporting this on a weekly basis, and as you can see, somewhere around July, we had another big spike of performance increase. So the more we were looking at this, the better we got performance, or the better performance we received. And by the time that we completed in November of 2014, we were all the way up at 88% participation, which is an excellent measure of the culture of quality on all of these projects in the Northeast region. I'm running out of time. I got about 4.5 minutes left, so I got to hustle. Next, you're going to see dollars per man hour of rework over time. As you can see in this trend line, we started off in 2013 with $1.10 per man hour and finished at the end of 2014 with about $1.90 per man hour, which, as I think we all agreed, is terrible, the increase. But what I really want you to see here are the next two slides, which are going to measure why we showed this type of an increase. Over the course of the same duration, between July of 2013, we were showing incidents starting off at reporting about once every 27,005 man hours, finishing off at the end of November 2014 at one incident per every 6,500 man hours. See, we're effectively reporting incidents 4 times as often, which seems terrible, again, per the previous slide, but you need to take into consideration that we're developing a culture where people are becoming more comfortable with reporting. So they're going to report more often, and that's a good thing. That transparency is excellent. That's exactly what we're driving home here. In addition to that slide, and which kind of plays into the first slide as well, we started off with dollars per incident, the actual average size of an incident at about 27,500 in July of 2013. And as of today, as of November, we were showing incidents at about 17,000 per incident, 17.5. And it seems like a really good thing that our incidents becoming about half as severe, but more importantly, realize that people are starting to investigate smaller incidents as areas of opportunity for us. See, we don't have OSHA to set our guidelines in quality. We really rely on the conscientiousness and integrity of our employees for reporting. So this is fundamental to our program. Is when people start looking at the small things and opportunities for change, then we know that we've instilled the type of culture that we're looking for. Moving on, a little bit of food for thought. You need to understand something. All this information is how we measure quality, and it's an excellent asset. It really is. But this is all really the result of a leadership decision by Dan Lucas. He reinvested into quality, and he didn't go overboard. He didn't invest a ton of money into quality, but he did provide formal training for our staff. He provided us an opportunity to use meaningful project audits and allowing different business leaders to invest some input back into those audits. He provided we were able to provide him constant feedback using these metrics. He really got involved and showed a lot of interest into this. So, and then obviously he took him some cultural changes as well. He had to stop the disciplining and chastising, which really changed the way that we operate. Together, this decision and subsequently the decision of all those involved has created a culture where Walsh employees in the Northeast are more capable of acknowledging rework. They see it as an opportunity for improvement, and we're getting better all the time as a result. So I talked a little bit about the 2014 goals, or 2015 goals, equilibrium in the numbers, spreading this across the country. Obviously, that's what I want you to think about. How do you measure quality?